From private jets and platinum plaques, to chapel duty and contraband fruit juice, Sean Diddy Combs, once the untouchable king of hip-hop moguls, isn't just doing time. He's pulling strings inside the system. While most inmates scrub laundry rooms and hustle for commissary snacks, Diddy scored one of the most privileged positions a prisoner can get: chaplain's assistant. Picture this: air conditioning, quiet surroundings, access to outside food, and a gig that's almost never available unless you're well-connected, squeaky clean, or highly trusted. So how did someone with a fresh 50-month sentence, for prostitution-related offenses no less, wind up there so fast? It gets even wilder. The same guy now helping run the prison chapel reportedly just got hit with a 90-day punishment for making an illegal three-way phone call. Oh, and that's after being accused of brewing bootleg alcohol using Fanta, apples, and sugar in his cell. No joke. So, what's really going on inside Fort Dix Federal Prison? How does a billionaire navigate inmate life and somehow still pull rank? This isn't just a prison sentence. It's a behind bars reboot, Diddy style. But make no mistake, not everyone inside is impressed. And that's where the real story begins. For decades, Sean Diddy Combs was the blueprint, from launching Bad Boy Records in the 90s, home to legends like Notorious B.I.G., to dominating fashion with Sean John, liquor with Ciroc, and building a billion-dollar empire that spanned TV, music, and nightlife. The man was everywhere. At one point, Diddy wasn't just one of the richest moguls in the game. He was the game. Forbes listed him as hip-hop's first billionaire, symbol of hustle, power, and reinvention. But by late 2024, that seemingly unshakable status collapsed in spectacular fashion. In September, federal agents quietly booked Diddy at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. The charge? A prostitution ring allegedly operated under his name. A sprawling and deeply disturbing case that had been brewing behind the scenes. No one saw it coming. Within weeks, the music mogul who once threw million-dollar yacht parties and traveled by private jet was eating off a metal tray behind reinforced glass. The court sentenced him to 50 months in federal prison, just over 4 years. Fans were stunned. The industry went quiet. Sponsors dropped out, and even longtime collaborators started creating distance. A man once known for controlling the narrative suddenly lost control of everything. But Diddy didn't stay at MDC Brooklyn for long. His legal team lobbied hard for a relocation, citing drug treatment needs and family access. The result? A transfer to Fort Dix, a minimum security federal prison in New Jersey, the kind of place where influence and connections matter just as much as behavior. And while the public was still reeling from the conviction, Diddy was already moving differently behind bars. Because the man who once built an empire from nothing wasn't about to spend 4 years folding laundry and eating cold grits. And inside Fort Dix, he wasted no time plotting his next power move. Fort Dix sounds like the kind of place your uncle might have been stationed back in the day. But it's not a military base anymore. It's a federal prison, one of the largest and most talked about low-security facilities in the country, buried in the woods of New Jersey. This isn't the kind of prison where cell doors slam shut with a bang every night. Think less locked boxes, more Hollywood inmate in sweats type of environment. There are no towering concrete walls, and many inmates live in dormitory-style housing. Big open rooms with bunk beds lining the corners. Still bleak but not entirely inhuman. So who ends up here? Fort Dix is for inmates the government deems non-violent or low-security risks. Whether that's white-collar criminals, drug offenders, or high-profile names like Sean Diddy Combs, if you've got a sentence with some wrinkles and a good lawyer, this is where you want to land, and Diddy made sure he did. His legal team argued for a transfer from Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center to Fort Dix, citing not just safety and proximity to family, but something else very specific: enrollment in the Residential Drug Abuse Program, or RDAP. One of the main perks of being at Fort Dix RDAP isn't just therapy. If you complete it, you can potentially knock up to 12 months off your sentence. Less time, better reputation, and a shot at a halfway house sooner. For celebrities, this isn't just recovery. It's strategy. It also sends a message: I'm taking accountability. Whether sincere or strategic, Diddy's move earned him a ticket out of the harsh MDC lockdowns into an institution with more breathing room and opportunities to maneuver. But don't get it twisted. Even inside a so-called easy prison, the politics never stop. In fact, in places like Fort Dix, where reputation runs the yard, every step can be a calculated play. Inmates form social factions. Privileges are traded like currency. And jobs. Some are straight-up power positions. And behind these barbed wire fences, Diddy wasn't just doing time. He was gaming the system. The Sean Combs who arrived at Fort Dix wasn't a music mogul. He was just another inmate. And like everyone else stepping through those gates for the first time, he got assigned a job. No private office, no VP section, no entourage, just laundry duty now. If you've never been behind bars, here's how it works. Every federal inmate is expected to work unless deemed medically unfit, but not all jobs are created equal. There's a very real class system inside prison. The inmate job hierarchy. At the top, low-effort, high-privilege roles like working in the chapel, library, the commissary, or kitchen supervisory roles. These jobs come with perks like better conditions, more privacy, protection, or even access to extra food. At the bottom, laundry, trash detail, dishwashing, the kind of work no one wants, but everyone gets stuck with at the start. Diddy, a man who used to run fashion shows and multi-million-dollar ad campaigns, was now folding sweaty t-shirts and boxers for other inmates. Powerful image shift, sure. But was it a humbling experience? Or a calculated play? Because here's the thing. In a place like Fort Dix, you don't just jump into desirable jobs. There's a process. Inmates have to apply or get recommended, and there's usually a long wait list. Work supervisors, who are sometimes other inmates, choose who's in and who's out, so everyone starts at the bottom. And yet it didn't take long for Diddy to stand out, or possibly pull some strings. Some sources claim he stayed quiet, kept to himself, and earned the chapel job through good behavior and early cooperation. Others believe his name and reputation nudged a few doors open. After all, when the staff knows you bought a private island for your 50th birthday, they know you're not a typical offender. Either way, Combs didn't stay in the laundry room long. Less than 2 weeks into his sentence, reports surfaced that he was no longer scrubbing sheets, because Diddy was already sliding into something much more comfortable. In a prison like Fort Dix, every corner has a power dynamic. And surprisingly, one of the highest status gigs you can land doesn't involve the warden, the guards, or the cafeteria. It's the chapel. And right now, Sean Diddy Combs isn't just attending chapel. He works there. Officially. His new title is chaplain's assistant, a soft-sounding role. But make no mistake, this is one of the most desirable jobs an inmate can get. According to sources inside Fort Dix, the chaplain's assistant helps manage the chapel library, set up religious programs, hand out materials, and assist inmates during services. Nothing too physical, nothing too public, and very far away from the fluorescent-lit chaos of the laundry room. But the real appeal? It's what the job gives you access to. A quiet, climate-controlled space. The chapel is one of the few air-conditioned parts of the entire prison. More privacy. Fewer guards breathing down your neck. Less random cell shakedowns. And perk of all perks? Occasional access to food brought in by outside clergy that's not from the mess hall. It's like the country club of prison jobs. Cushy, calm, and protected. Former corrections officers have even confirmed this job is usually reserved for model inmates, the type who've either been inside for years without a single write-up, or those with influence. And that raises the million-dollar question. How did Diddy go from laundry duty to one of the most in-demand roles in just a few weeks? According to his publicist, Diddy finds the job warm, respectful, and rewarding. Warm sounds like a euphemism, but sure. CBS News confirmed he landed the gig within days of arriving at Fort Dix, skipping the kinds of long wait lists most inmates face. Some believe he earned it, kept his head down, made the right impression, and genuinely wanted to help. Others believe his name did the heavy lifting, because in prison, just like in business, it ain't always about what you do. It's about who knows your value. And while Diddy might say he's finding peace in the chapel, The truth is, he just stepped into a whole different kind of power position. In the world of federal prison, fame is currency. Not officially, of course, but ask anyone who's done time and they'll tell you, celebrity status changes the game. From day one, famous inmates are treated differently. By the staff, by security, and especially by fellow inmates. Sometimes for better, sometimes not. Take Martha Stewart. During her 5-month stint in federal prison, insiders say she secured one of the easiest jobs, cleaning, with gloves, indoors, and under supervision. Not exactly roughing it, Mike Tyson. He spent considerable amounts of time in near isolation, not just for protection, but because the prison knew he couldn't be housed normally. Even Wolf of Wall Street Jordan Belfort. He was allegedly allowed to hold finance, lectures for other inmates, turning felony, time into seminar hours, and that brings us back to Diddy. His publicist describes his chaplain's assistant role as peaceful, respectful, and uplifting. A spiritual job for a man ready to reflect, learn, and grow. Sounds noble, maybe even redemptive. But inside Fort Dix, not everyone is buying it. See, most inmates wait months to get near a chapel job. Diddy landed it within 2 weeks. The work perks alone, air conditioning, privacy, outside food, make it the equivalent of a corner office in a cubicle farm. And then there's the timing. The job came just days after his punishment for breaking prison rules. That kind of fast track rarely happens without whisper networks, backdoor approvals, or at the very least, star power. And let's not ignore the optics here. Diddy's once shiny public image has taken a beating. He's no longer the champagne-popping icon of a billion-dollar dynasty. He's an inmate doing time for prostitution-related crimes, an unscripted fall from grace. What better way to soften that image than to spotlight a new role centered on faith, humility, and service? It's a classic PR play. Reframe the narrative. But behind those chapel doors, insiders say the environment isn't just serene, it's insulated. Less oversight. Fewer eyes, more opportunity to maneuver, which raises the uncomfortable question. Is Diddy really using this time to reflect or just flex? Because chapel job or not every part of Diddy's new job is so holy. For someone working in the prison chapel, Sean Diddy Combs sure hasn't been avoiding temptation. Just days after securing his high-status job, Diddy reportedly found himself under investigation. Not for a shiv, not for a fight, but for alcohol. TMZ broke the story. Staff at Fort Dix allegedly discovered that Diddy, or someone in his orbit, had brewed up a batch of Pruno, also known as prison hooch. The reported ingredients? Fanta, sugar, and apples. Fermented over days into a fizzy, foul-smelling, low-grade alcoholic drink that inmates have been making for decades. It's the unofficial cocktail of confinement, and totally illegal behind. Bars and inmates caught making or consuming Pruno can face disciplinary action, including loss of privileges, solitary confinement, or being transferred to a higher security facility. In Diddy's case, investigators claim he was involved. Diddy, for his part, completely denies the accusation, saying he never drank it, never made it, and that it has nothing to do with him. But here's where things get tricky. In prisons, especially places like Fort Dix, association is everything. If someone in your housing unit is caught with contraband, you could get dragged into the fire just by standing too close. And when you're a high-profile inmate like Diddy, the target on your back is just waiting for something to stick. Some insiders believe he was being set up, either by jealous inmates or opportunistic staff. Others think it was a dumb mistake, the kind you make when the silence gets to you and you want to feel normal again, even if just for a buzz. Either way, it revealed something crucial about his life behind bars. Fame doesn't protect you. In fact, it might make your slip-ups louder and more punished. Disciplinary incidents trigger what's known as an informal hearing. No judge, no fancy lawyers, just prison staff deciding what happens next. If they find you responsible, they can pull your privileges. No phone access, no commissary, no visits. Sometimes even time in the HU, solitary confinement. In this case, Diddy dodged the worst outcomes. But the attention it brought him inside wasn't exactly welcome. And that wouldn't be the last time Diddy's privilege cost him something huge. Just when things at Fort Dix seemed to be settling down, A chapel job secured, rumors of Pruno fading. Diddy found himself back under the disciplinary spotlight. This time it wasn't about juice. It was about a phone call. According to CBS News, Diddy was hit with a 90-day punishment after allegedly participating in an unauthorized three-way call, a direct violation of prison communication rules. Now, this might sound like nothing to someone on the outside, but in the world of federal corrections, three-way calling is a major red flag. It's seen as a way for inmates to bypass the heavily monitored phone system. A third party on the line can allow for conversations to go unrecorded, messages to be masked, and even illegal activities to be coordinated off the books. Prisons record every call. They have to, and the second someone's caught bending that system, even a passive participant, the response is swift. In Diddy's case, the punishment was clear: 90 days without phone privileges, and days without commissary. On paper, that might sound manageable. But behind bars, that's a serious hit. No phone means no direct contact with loved ones, no lawyer strategy sessions on the fly, no check-ins from family. And losing commissary access? That's everything from snacks, soap, and stamps, to even small comforts like better hygiene products and basic clothing upgrades. In a place where every minor luxury counts, this was like losing half your oxygen, especially for someone used to being surrounded by yes men and private assistants, controlling everything from yacht seating to liquor menus. This was a cold, hard reset. Insiders say the punishment shook him. Whether the call was for shady reasons or just a careless mistake isn't clear. But either way, it served as a reminder. Fame won't let you bend the rules in here, at least not without consequences, and the timing made it worse. He had just landed the cushy chapel gig, was starting a subtle reputation rebound, and then boom, knocked back down, for someone used to billion-dollar boardrooms and bottle service. This was the ultimate reality check. Sean "Diddy" Combs built his empire on image, and even behind bars, that instinct hasn't left him. Shortly after his arrival at Fort Dix, it was revealed that Diddy had voluntarily enrolled in the Residential Drug Abuse Program, also known as RDAP, a structured, intensive federal rehab initiative aimed at helping inmates address substance abuse issues. But here's where things get interesting. RDAP isn't just about recovery. It's also a get-out-early strategy, plain and simple. Inmates who complete the program can qualify for up to 12 months off their sentence, plus a much earlier placement in a halfway house, where conditions are significantly more relaxed. We're talking no lockdowns, more outside time, actual calls home, even basic work opportunities. For some inmates, RDAP is a lifeline. For others, it's a loophole, and in Diddy's case, might be both. His legal team positioned his entry into RDAP as part of a rehabilitative commitment. They highlighted prior incidents involving alleged substance use, pointing to a need for structured treatment, not just punishment. It played well in court, and it played even better in the press. After all, the narrative shift from disgraced mogul to man taking accountability hits a lot softer. But here's the part that raises eyebrows. Not everyone gets into RDAP. There's an application process, interviews, and a background check to prove substance issues existed prior to sentencing. Inmates routinely get denied. But Diddy? He was fast-tracked in. No lengthy delays, no complicated appeals. Insiders say RDAP at Fort Dix isn't Netflix and nap time either. It's structured, 5-day-a-week group therapy, substance education, behavior-based assignments, and communal living, all under strict supervision. For someone used to red carpets and bottle parades, it's an awkward space to navigate. But also, it's a brilliant one, because nothing screams reformed like rehab and religion, and Combs now has both on his inmate resume. Is he genuinely seeking change? Maybe. Is he maximizing every pathway to get out early and soften the damage to his public image? Absolutely, and that's the real story here. Even behind bars, Diddy's still playing chess, not checkers. Even in prison, fame walks into the room first. When Sean "Diddy" Combs arrived at Fort Dix, his name carried weight, but not all of it was good. Unlike the world outside, where status equals protection, prestige behind bars can be a double-edged weapon. Because in prison, everyone's watching, and not all attention is friendly. Some inmates reportedly viewed his arrival as entertainment, a living legend trapped in the same system they were fighting to survive. Others saw opportunity. Hang with the rich guy, maybe get something out of it. But a decent chunk. Let's just say the vibe wasn't welcoming. Whispers started spreading early. A few inmates allegedly described Diddy as cool and low-key. He kept to himself, didn't cause problems, and avoided the ego that most celebrities bring inside. But others branded him as full of himself, a man still trying to carry a superstar mentality into a world where that only makes you a target, and targets are valuable. Inside, high-profile inmates often find themselves manipulated or tested. Sometimes it's subtle. People trying to get close, grab a photo, or name drop for clout. Other times, it's more dangerous. Setups, extortion, small-scale threats masked as jokes. Diddy's chapel job might provide him some insulation. It keeps him physically away from the general population during certain hours of the day, and allows him to stay surrounded by a smaller, more controlled environment. But even that can backfire, because in places like Fort Dix, privilege breeds resentment. The air conditioning, private access, and outside meals sound great, until other inmates decide they're unfair. And just like on the outside, people judge what they think you're getting, whether they're right or not. Small luxuries start to look like power moves, and power in prison is always challenged. So as Diddy balances chapel life, rehab, and inmate politics, he's walking a tightrope, trying to fly under the radar, while everyone's trying to read his next move. Because if there's one thing prison doesn't care about, it's Grammy Awards or Forbes lists, and if history tells us anything, it's that fame doesn't always protect you inside. Sean Diddy Combs has always been a man with a plan. But inside Fort Dix, that plan is running on federal time now, and the road ahead is as uncertain as it's ever been. So what comes next? If Diddy completes the RDAP program without any new violations, he could cut up to a year off his sentence. That's no small deal. It might mean release to a halfway house in less than 3 years, maybe even earlier, depending on how the system tallies it all up, but nothing is guaranteed. His recent infractions, the alleged three-way call, the homemade alcohol rumor, could complicate his eligibility. Even one more mistake could risk his RDAP benefits, delay his transition, or downgrade his prison status. Every disciplinary mark becomes another checkbox that pushes freedom just a little further away. And don't forget the spotlight he's under. Media coverage has made Diddy into a walking headline. Every chapel shift, every program enrollment, every disciplinary slip is fair game for public consumption. That constant attention doesn't always work in his favor. Staff may start to treat him more carefully, or more strictly. Public pressure and internal politics don't always play nice, especially with a name this big. Then there's the legacy question. Bad Boy Records revolt. His fashion line, liquor deals, streaming partnerships, all of it built on a brand of swagger, control, and cultural dominance. But now, the narrative's cracked. Will the empire survive 4 years of silence? Will partners return or quietly move on? Can anyone really come back from this? Diddy's publicist has already started spinning the story. A man facing his consequences. Getting right with himself. Finding purpose in humility. A redemption arc in real time. But critics say this might just be the beginning, that we haven't seen the final fallout yet, that off-camera there are more investigations brewing, more consequences waiting to hit once the cell doors finally open. Because money can't buy peace in prison, and time doesn't hit the same when you're on the other side of the power curve, from mogul to inmate, to maybe something else entirely. The world is watching, but so are his fellow inmates, and they don't forget. From private jets to prison jobs, Sean Diddy Combs has made one of the most dramatic transitions the entertainment world has ever seen. And yet, inside Fort Dix, he's adapting fast. Whether it's landing the most coveted inmate job, enrolling in programs that could lower his sentence, or carefully controlling the narrative from behind bars, Diddy's survival instincts are still sharp, but it also exposes something deeper. The strange, enduring advantages of fame. Even when freedom is gone, Fort Dix might have taken Diddy's liberty. But the game? He's still playing it and maybe winning, one chapel shift at a time.